Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're zeroing in on how lifelong learning really does start at home, and specifically, how it's fueled by what's called a growth mindset.
Exactly.
We've been looking at excerpts from Text and their piece, Lifelong Learning Starts at Home, Cultivating a Growth Mindset in Families. So our mission today is really to get to the heart of what it means to foster this mindset in a family and, why it matters so much for learning throughout life.
Yeah, absolutely. It's about those everyday moments, isn't it? The interactions that shape how we all approach learning, challenges for the long haul.
Okay, so growth mindset, it's a term we hear a lot. How does Text actually define it? What's the core idea there?
Well, fundamentally, it's this belief that our intelligence, our abilities, they aren't just fixed traits you're born with.
Right.
Instead, they can be developed. You can strengthen them through, dedication, hard work, good strategies.
So it's changeable.
Exactly. The source really contrasts that with a fixed mindset, where people see talent as just innate. If you have a growth mindset, you tend to see challenges not as threats, but as, opportunities to learn and grow.
Okay, that makes sense. Less about inherent talent, much more about putting in their effort, the process.
Yeah.
So where do parents, caregivers fit in? How do we show this mindset?
Yeah, modeling is huge, according to the source. Kids are constantly watching.
Always.
So when parents themselves tackle challenges openly, persist when things get tricky, and, importantly, frame effort as the path to getting better, that speaks volumes. It's about being transparent about your own learning. Maybe saying, well, this is tough, but I'm going to keep at it. Or, talking about what you learned from a mistake instead of just getting frustrated. Even how you react to others' success, seeing it as inspiration rather than making you feel less capable. That's part of modeling it too.
That's interesting. Okay, so beyond modeling, what practical things can families do? What strategies does Text suggest for creating that kind of home environment?
There are some really concrete suggestions. First off, really nurture curiosity. Create chances for kids to explore, ask questions. Value that why.
Instead of shutting it down.
Exactly. And how you praise is key. Instead of just, you're so smart, focus on the process or the effort. Like, you really worked hard on that problem, look how you figured it out.
Focus on the how.
Right. And reframing failures is crucial, not as catastrophes, but as learning opportunities. Asking, okay, that didn't work. What can we try next? What did we learn? Even just learning things together as a family, showing your own interest in learning new things, that enthusiasm is contagious.
So it shifts the focus from just the outcome, the right answer, to the whole journey of figuring things out. What are the benefits then? According to Text, what good things come from families adopting this mindset?
Oh, the source lists quite a few significant ones. Greater resilience is a big one. Setbacks are seen as temporary, part of learning.
Right, not the end of the world.
Not at all. Also, increased motivation, because effort is seen as directly linked to improvement, which naturally often leads to better learning outcomes overall.
Makes sense.
And an interesting side effect mentioned is stronger family bonds. Sharing those learning experiences, tackling things together can actually bring everyone closer.
That's a really nice outcome. Are there any common challenges or maybe misunderstandings when families try to implement this? Does the source mention any pitfalls?
Yes, it does touch on a couple. One is this sort of misconception that you just praise effort constantly no matter what.
Like good try, even if it wasn't really directed well.
Kind of, yeah. The source stresses that constructive feedback, focusing on effective strategies and ways to improve, is still really important. It's not just about participation trophies for effort.
Okay.
Another challenge can be, sometimes unintentionally, parents projecting their own fixed mindset tendencies onto their kids. It takes real conscious effort sometimes to shift those older patterns.
Right, self-awareness is key then. Okay, so if we boil it all down, what's the core message from Text about nurturing this growth mindset at home?
I think the fundamental takeaway is that a home environment that actively cultivates this growth mindset, it lays a really powerful foundation, not just for school, but for lifelong learning, personal development, really for everyone in the family. It's about believing in potential in the process.
That's a powerful idea. So for you listening right now, maybe just take a moment and think about this based on what we discussed from Text. What's one small, specific change you could make this week in your family? Maybe in how you talk about challenges or praise effort or react to a mistake. Even a tiny shift could really help foster that lifelong love of learning.